Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and today I want to show you The Little Book of Battle Mats, Towns and Taverns Edition, by Loke Battle Mats. This is a book with 40 wipe-clean maps for tabletop roleplay. You can roll initiative on the go or expand your encounter area with extra streets and rooms. This is on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description below so you can find it very easily. And obviously, this is compatible with the entire line of Loke Battle Mats products, or your favorite tabletop RPG, and many, many dungeon crawlers, including HeroQuest if you know how to utilize this. These books are high quality, they are ring bound so that you can open the books all the way, flipping the page to the back, so that you can utilize one 6x6 grid map, or two of them at once for a 12x6 experience. And these books can of course line up with each other to create larger maps. What I would like to do is show you the maps in this book, and then show you a few scenes placed together with different tabletop dungeon crawling elements. Yes, of course it's going to be HeroQuest. So just a note, as with all of Loki's products, these pages are not flimsy, they're not thin. They're going to last a long time. They don't crease, wrinkle, or bend with normal use. You're going to be able to use these for hundreds, if not thousands, of game sessions. Our first set of pages are blank squares so that you can dry erase, draw, or write whatever you'd like on these for a completely customizable scenario. The next set gives you a pathway, cobblestone on grass, to your next dungeon. Here we finally have an interior. This is a friendly place, perhaps the beginning of an inn or a tavern. This continues on into a place that has both indoor and outdoor elements. We've even got a bit of a shed implied in the back, or these could just be city streets, village streets, I suppose, rather. This is a first for me. This is a pair of maps representing a ship. I would probably not use either of these by themselves, but the thing as a whole. And this could be docked at the side of any game board to imply that you're getting off of the ship and right into the island dungeon. You could also escape back to this ship. You could have quite a scenario just on the ship by placing monsters in the water and having your heroes defend against any attacks from these monsters. I've seen miniatures of just tentacles, and you could place those all around the ship too. A nice two-dimensional representation of a three-dimensional map. We've got stairs going down, a few flights, cobblestone pathways, and the coloration on these and the art is really beautiful. All of these Loke battle maps are visually congruent with one another, so it's kind of hard not to collect many of them, as you've seen me do. We have hedge maze components. These are going to fit perfectly with whatever hedge maze you've got going on. Open areas, this is to more facilitate wargaming or a scenario where you have a bunch of heroes, a bunch of enemies, and just no walls blocking any sort of line of sight. Or you could place your own walls down, your own wall tiles, your own dungeon dressings. Loke does sell static clings as well for that purpose. And this video is not sponsored, by the way. I am just a huge fan of Loke's products ever since I bought the Dungeon Book of Battle Mats, which was actually a 2-book set. So, another place where you can come down some stairs. This could be an inside place. It does connect to the outside. If you look just past these rings, you can see that there are walls and that these maps do connect. You don't have to use them together, or you can use any two of these maps together if you are brave enough to remove them from the ring binding. Now that's not something I'm going to do, and I don't want to recommend it unless you're sure that you're able to do it cleanly and you're going to destroy your product. But there's a lot of people who have talked about getting these rings off, removing them, or cutting the pages out. It might be a lot safer to remove the rings rather than cut the pages, but I suspect if you do that, you'll still want to trim the pages down, as they are more than a tile length along the edge connected to the ring binding. I love this map, by the way, just to linger on that one. This one's really, really cool and interesting. You've got light in here, and the light is shining through bars into the map on the left. Really cool effect. They didn't have to do that. They could have just made two maps, but they actually made that dynamic. You could put your enemies outside of the wall. You could put archers on top of this wall, and you could have your heroes try to dodge obstacles and arrows firing down upon them as they reach their goal. A bridge, I can think of a lot of uses for a bridge, namely to cross water, but in an RPG scenario. This one implies a tomb, a crypt, perhaps prison cells if you use this one by itself. We've got some busted up cobblestone and a ruined building for our last 2 pages. And that is Little Book of Battle Mats, Towns and Taverns edition. I'm going to line this book up with some of the other books that I have, but I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like right now with just one of my books. And it was really easy to find one that matched the style of our cobblestone. Some of the cons that I pointed out before is that when you use maps like this, you might have heights that vary just a little bit. But something that I actually never thought of was that you can take the pages in the book and flip them underneath to the other side such that you're able to raise one side higher or the other lower as needed. So you can actually get all of these maps to line up perfectly in regards to height. So that is a complaint that was not warranted. That was an unfair complaint, and I'd like to strike it from the record. It's actually not a con at all. However, the con of the ring binding still stays. If you don't like the ring binding, but you're planning on using both maps, then you're still going to have to consider these 2 tiles, for example, adjacent, yet they have rings in the middle. Now, I've said this before in other Loki battle mat videos. The rings no longer bother me after my very first purchase. Ogling the artwork and seeing the utility, I never paid any more attention to the rings. I don't care that they're there. And so I'm going to be traveling from this larger map onto the smaller map, and I've got more area to cover. You could, if you wanted, place these smaller maps at the edge of the board if the heroes explore the edge of the board, kind of giving them I found a secret room, or actually a whole secret area effect of surprise. And this could be mandatory, or it could be completely optional. There could be an optional challenge waiting to be conquered on this map. This is a pretty cool concept here, because you could start it out here as soon as it's discovered. And with each turn, you could move this exactly 1 tile, move the entire game board. And this implies the ship is passing. You have a limited amount of time to get everybody onto the ship. Perhaps they need to raid the ship. Perhaps they need to flee from a city that is on fire or being raided by orcs. There's just a ton of potential here before the ship eventually departs. And then your last heroes, your stragglers, they either have to roll saving throws or be able to fly, or they're simply not going to escape the city in time, and the story has to go on without them. If you're brave, you could probably go ahead and set these on top of other maps as well, but in that scenario, you're going to be bothered by the height of the book again. Maybe not. Maybe you may actually not care. Like I said, you can adjust the height by moving the pages underneath to make the books equal in size on both sides. And then so when you lay something like that down, it's at least consistent. You could have this implied to be a higher level in your scenario. So then the archers would stand along this as the top of a wall or platform, and then your heroes would have to jump on top to get access. Why? There's an assassin now trying to get to the top of those steps so she can make the final jump onto this platform, then scale onto this. What would you call this? This is like an overlook. This is where the princess goes out to survey the subjects of her kingdom and so on, and then get into the castle to assassinate her target. Here's our sort of indoor-outdoor scene again, but this time I'm going to give it some context. I'm going to pretty it up with a few dungeon items. We're going to have the rack of weapons. We're going to have a nice toasty fireplace. We're going to have inferences that sort of indicate where this map ends, where there is supposed to be a wall. We've got a nice table, 3-dimensional, taking up the 6 tiles it is meant to take. And that, my friends, is an instant HeroQuest scene. Perhaps this is something accessible between levels. Perhaps at the very least, this is a visual representation of how your heroes are just hanging out. You can take your heroes, place them around the table, then present to your players the armory, the alchemist's shop, whatever it is that you like to do in between quests. We could place the tables over on top of the two-dimensional tables as well. It's always an option. Here's our indoor-outdoor city streets scene again. This time there is furniture. There's a bit of an implied quest. You need to get from this point, perhaps that would be better, to this point, undetected by patrolling guards who are going around. How would you do that? So that is the Little Book of Battle Mats. Very affordable, I think only $12 USD. A lot more accessible than its larger cousins. If you haven't gotten one of these books of battle mats and you're wondering how they would play on your table, how they look, just get one of these small ones. It's a much smaller risk and a fraction of the cost. Please let me know what you thought in the comments below. I've been appreciating each and every comment, no matter the content of it, and I will see you in the next episode. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and bye for now, heroes.